Alrighty then, welcome back, team, to episode 36 of the Midnight Release podcast. Today in the studio, we have Sal Fiend gracing us with his presence. And before we get started, Sal, before we jump in here, let the people know where they can find you, any socials, any projects that you're working on, or the platforms that you're most active on.
So I haven't. I'm active mostly on Twitter, which is where you can find me. I guess it's X now, but I still don't think I'll ever
It's
come away
Twitter,
from
dude.
calling
It's
it Twitter, dude.
dude.
It's crazy to me.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm most active. Selfiend is where you can find me there. X I am Cell X, pretty much on everything else. TikTok, Instagram, where I'm also fairly active. YouTube, and then Twitch, of course, which I'm not as active as I used to be. And we're
Me too,
contemplating it,
man. Me too.
trying to figure out how to get back into it.
Oh. And before we
So
jump into, you are a streamer, a content creator, a gamer, hitting all those different avenues. But yeah,
absolutely.
man. I think we initially met, I think at least in the same circles. I can't remember. Was it through Nick, maybe?
Yeah, it's through Nick. I think so.
He's such a nucleus, isn't he? That guy.
He really is. Yeah.
Um, yeah, so we met back a little while ago through that space. I think also maybe Odyssey, is that a thing that we
I think were we on Odyssey together? I think you're right.
briefly,
Yeah.
yeah,
I think
yeah.
that did not last very long.
No, that did not last. No hate to those guys. And that was like the first time I ever even attempted to be on like a stream team or a content team. I don't even know, like, are those effective? Like, I'm sure there's teams that are a lot more active. I just don't know a whole
They
lot about them. I see them on Twitch, but like, I never know.
Yeah, they can be. I think the real for me and on a I guess on a like a level like where I think that most content creators don't really say this, but this is what it's for, is that like org is essentially just a place to meet new people. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Get to know people. That's where I met Nick when he was at Valkyrie, and we had moved over there. And was it Valkyrie? What the hell was the name of that? I don't know. It's something like that. And
I know what you're talking about. I can like see the logo.
yeah, it might not have been Valkyrie, it might have been something else, but
Why does that sound familiar?
I
Okay. Yeah.
I met him initially there, and like anytime this would probably be Odyssey was probably my third org. There was another one after that, and then another one that I stuck with for 2 years until they merged with somebody else. But it's always a place to network with other creators, meet new people, grow your brand. I don't think like a lot of people like to say it like that, but essentially that's what it comes down to when you're dealing in that space. And this, everybody uses it. I don't, I don't really know how other people view it and what it is, but for me, like, and it's not like that I jumped around from orgs to orgs, like, but just things never worked out. This didn't
Right.
work out here. Odyssey came around, went to there, like, you know, and I'm older. I'll be 47 this year. So like I noticed that a lot of things are orgs, especially are ran by young people, and they don't have a lot of business sense, and they're not quite in the area where they
Savvy.
need to be.
Yeah, yeah,
They
yeah.
don't have that
Call it management
discipline.
experience.
Yeah, they don't have that discipline yet. So,
Yeah.
I find that they usually talk a big game that they can never back up. Not
Yeah.
no shots at anybody. It's just like in my experience of dealing with orgs and people and friends, I've met a lot of people that I still talk to, Nick being one of them.
Yeah.
And then in the outer layers of groups, there's still a lot of people that I'm pretty close with that I met specifically through orgs, you know.
And for those of you who don't know what an org is, I would call it an org. I mean, short for organization, but like a collection of almost like clan. If you think of, when people were in clans back in the day, I think they still are
Yeah.
for like shooters and stuff, but basically a group that you can be a part of. It's way easier now with Discord, and it seems like everyone knows how to build a website. So you can
Right.
join it, and it's almost like a content team. I
Yeah.
guess maybe that's a different way to put it. So you join it. It's a lot of encouraged, good ones. They'll, all the people in the org will promote and say good words and put out. I think a lot of it is just like retweeting other people's stuff for stuff at the
it can be
base level,
retweeting,
but
right?
the folks at the higher level, I'm sure it's like where you actually create content with other people, you do team streams, it's a lot of promotion of other members, that type of thing. So it's definitely like a way to get to, it's an easy way to get, I would say, a lot of free promotion, I guess, almost.
I guess that's what.
Best case, you come out with friends and people that you actually connect and gel with, and
absolutely,
grow channels with. But
yeah,
it's like you said. I think it's really easy to start one because you just make the handle with your fake Gmail email, and send it. But I've only really tried it one time. Again, met a lot of good people, still talk to a lot of them today, but never really, I don't feel like I ever really felt the mission. Kind of like you said, it's a lot of talk, but the execution's difficult, and I don't even know what that necessarily would look like at a higher level outside of like, all I know are esport teams, and then
well, your
Twitter
esport
orgs.
teams are orgs, you know what I mean?
Right, sure.
In the sense of things, like got it. What's the one that's sponsored by LG that there's a bunch of people on it. I can't remember, but like a lot of those, like even TSM is an org essentially when you break it down, and it's just a management group essentially that tries to help. Their goal is to make money off of their creators, and their creators make money off the org, and access. It is a bit, very much so, and I think that's the thing that people don't get in the end of the day, is that this literally is a business. If you treat it like such and you treat the talent as such, then you can do stuff. But I've always found that you go into an org and the talent just isn't there. Like they're not nobody's doing anything. Everybody's stressed out, everybody's tired, and you know what I mean, like they don't know how to manage their time, and you know what I mean, like I know, I'm pretty sure that you have a full-time job, I have a full-time job, creating. I have a family too. I don't know if you have kids or not, but
I do not.
I have a family too. So it's like
trying I feel stressed out with cats, man.
Like man.
You know what I'm saying?
Man.
Look, I have total respect for creators who also have a family on top of that. That is like, that's because I know how stressed and tired and like non-motivated I can get, and I don't have to take care of anybody. So
right. So it becomes one of those things where it's like, and I see it with other people too. I was in a Warzone player. His name is Lumpy, and he's very good. Like he goes into lobbies, he 1v4s crews, like he just does it like it's natural. But then like I was talking to him and I was talking to other creators, and those guys like, I'm so stressed out, bro. It's so hard. How do you make it? And I have the formula. I know what the formula is, but being able to do the formula, as I told him, like, you need to make content every day, right? You need to stream 3 to 4 times a week, 3 times minimum. You can even do less, but you already have to have the fan base to be able to do, 1 or 2 day a week streams.
But your video output better be high.
Your video output has to be high. So if you're playing 7 days a week, you have to be clipping everything that you can and putting it out. Like it doesn't matter whether it's good or it's mid or it's the greatest clip you've ever created. Like, be consistent and do it every day. So I have the formula, but like running the formula against working, against having, taking care of the kids, taking care of the family, like it's hard. And I think when I had the drive, like it was like, yeah, we could do this. I'd take every Monday and I'd edit 10 clips, or I'd do this or do that, and and just try to put out. But being consistent is really difficult,
dude. And it's interesting you mention it because so often I've watched large creators talk about, because everyone goes, well, how do you get big? What's the secret? And they all, it doesn't even matter that in content, your full-time job, I'm sure you've had a team meeting where the manager goes, they all say the same thing. Eventually you just got to work hard and be talented. And then if you aren't as talented, then you got to work harder. If you are super talented, then you got to match the work ethic or whatever. Like it all comes down to like the phrase I heard that I liked most was a comedian. I can't remember which comedian it was, just a famous comedian. And they were saying, like, who's willing to stand out in the rain the longest? Like,
Hmm.
who's willing to sit in the
Yeah.
crowd the longest? And the people who
Yeah.
end up making it are usually, there's overnight successes, so on and so forth. That's rare, but
Sure.
it's also doesn't seem as long lasting.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah. Yeah.
when people come into, let's say you come into a Tim the Tapman stream
Yeah.
and you look at it and it's like, man, the production's high. It's all this money's rolling in. It looks so easy. But all you're seeing is the end product.
Right.
And then if you really dive in the archives, like you watch some old original streams, they don't look that
Yeah.
good.
They don't.
They
They
don't look
don't.
good. The
No.
background is the kitchen tape. Like
Yeah.
there is so much effort put in where you don't actually see it. Like
Yeah.
you're like, oh man, because he'll off the cuff, he'll be like, I've been doing this for 15 years. You go,
Yeah.
oh shit, he's been doing it for
Yeah.
15 years.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
oh damn, I quit at year 8. Or oh
Yeah.
man, I quit at year 9.5. Or
Yeah.
man, I went 14 years and gave it up. If I had only gone 15 years, who knows? So it's like, but like that's people quit. They quit. So how many people got affiliate and stop? Hit the
It's
they're
true.
like, because then the affiliate to
It's true.
partner gap is so big.
Yeah.
It doesn't look
It
big,
really is.
but it's massive.
Oh, it's massive. It's
Yeah.
massive. What is it
And
like? 3? You have to have like, isn't it 3 average viewers plus 7 days plus like 50 hours streamed or something like that? It's something
something
crazy.
like
Like
that for affiliate. For
for
partner,
just for affiliate.
yeah, and
Right.
for partner, you have to have 75. I don't even know the numbers. I
75.
stopped looking at the numbers, dude. I was like,
Yeah.
man, if I
Yeah.
at this point, if I get it, I get it. But then you still have to apply. So you hit that, but it's not automatic. You still have to
Yeah.
apply and be approved.
The amount of
But
the amount of people that I've seen apply and have their numbers right and still not get it is wild to me.
over and over
It's
too, because you can
wild.
only
Yeah.
apply every certain amount of weeks or months or whatever. So if you've been denied 4 times and it's once a quarter,
Yeah.
that's a full year of just applying, trying to get
Yeah.
it.
It's
And
crazy.
people miss it. And so I realized, so I'm 33. I've been doing it for about, I don't know, 5 years ish.
Sure.
And that is everything from like trying to stream every day to, all right, I'm just gonna do shorts and TikTok to now I'm doing YouTube and like
Right.
streaming less. And kind of like you mentioned, like the more I'm putting into video production, the more I'm realizing like I actually kind of like filming videos by myself, editing by myself, and putting it out versus an 8-hour stream.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I've felt like I pivoted as a creator, and I'm just way more into doing video production versus live streaming. Because
Sure.
you can see, like, you can look at certain streamers, and you're like, man, I'm never gonna be that level of crazy or that over the top entertainer. And
Right.
just like recognizing that and not trying to be that anymore, and
Yeah.
going, what I'm actually better at. Like for you, what do you think is kind of your biggest strengths in the creation space?
In the creative space, I think streaming is my strength. 100%. Production, editing was really good for a little while there. But it more so was the streaming aspect of it, like being able to relate to people, being able to carry on conversations with people that you can't actually see,
Yeah.
and and connect 100% connect with people
Yeah.
on a level that's beyond just the game. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
it's like I think I have some lifelong friendships through streaming, and it's just like meeting people in the ways that we've met people over the years, whether it was
Right.
the group chats on Instagram, or it was orgs like we talked about earlier, or it was just meeting somebody in a stream and then playing games with them and doing all that stuff. Uh, so I think that for me, the content itself was never my strength, because of the games I played too. I'm mainly like a shooter, a focus on shooters. It's what I like to play, but
Mhm.
I'm not Tim the Tap Man. I'm not any of these guys that are killing it. Like I'm like the guy that's like right below the sweat. Like I'm like a pseudo sweat in those games, and like
Right,
there's
right. Better
always
than
the guys that are
average.
like that
Yeah,
are
yeah,
always
yeah.
gonna be that much better than me, and I can't hang in their lobbies. So
Yeah,
you know,
time, like there's just
yeah,
the time factor isn't there, and
yeah,
it's like, hey,
yeah.
like, well, you got to be this good, and then you have to pivot and go, okay, do I have that many hours to invest to even attempt to be that good? Okay,
Oh,
now I have the hours. Okay, am I ass though? Like I could spend
yeah,
40
yeah,
hours.
yeah, yeah,
Am I still
yeah.
garbage at the other end of it? And then you go,
Yeah.
yeah, kind of. You're like, all right, well, maybe I should do something else. That's just so tough, man, because like there's so many roads you go down in this space, and you might spend a long time on that road and go, hey, I think we took a wrong turn at,
Right. A
at the
hundred
fort.
percent.
Yeah.
100%. Apex was that. I played Apex for 4 years. I think when I started in 2020, where I mean a lot of people did. I mean, if I go back and look at my Instagram, there's so many people that I follow that or don't follow anymore that I haven't seen in 4 years. You
Right.
know what I mean? Or whatever. Like there was I think I started May of 2020. We had just had a kid, and
Nice.
we had already been kind of on the road to start. We were testing and doing all sorts of stuff, and after the baby was born, probably like a week or so, we were like, okay, let's give this a shot. And so we started. You know what I mean? And then we just kind of rolled on down that road. But it was yeah, there was a lot. It was a lot. It was like Warzone, and then I was like tired of Warzone. I keep getting
Mhm.
cheated on, or this is happening, that's happening. Like it's just a mess. So we moved to Apex, and Apex was like a it's like learning how to play it, even though you know shooters and you're pretty good at
Mhm.
shooters, it's like learning how to play a totally different game because there's so many factors you have to take in when you're actually playing, you know what I mean? And you're this main, but then you're fighting these guys who are maining these characters, and you have to
Right.
think about how to approach those fights. So like it took me a long time, and then I, there was a point where we weren't nobody was working, and so you were able to play 8
Right,
hours a
dude.
day.
Everyone
You know
was
what I mean?
peak at Apex in
Yes,
2020. Like everyone was the best
yes.
they'll ever be in 2020 Apex.
Yeah, 100%. So like, but then at some point, Apex started to falter, and it's like, well, what the fuck do I do now?
Right,
You know what I
right,
mean? Like this
right,
is my
right.
game. So like then the transition. I think that's where things started to falter for me too. Is like the transition is like, okay, I don't know what to do now. Do I do story mode games? Do
Right.
I go to Warzone? Do I go find something else to play? Like, like there's so many routes that you have to take and decisions you have to make that make up who you are and how people see you. But I think that's like I said, the streaming was my strength. I think that's where it didn't matter what I played. You know
Right.
what I mean? It's like people would show up just to say what's up and hi to me, and you know what I mean? Like, you know, even the lurkers that I found over the years, which I found very interesting, was that you tell people in your real life, in your day to day real life, oh, this is what I do for on the side, like it's just it's fun for me, and then your numbers would start to creep, and you wouldn't understand, and then people would come out of nowhere and be like, "Hey, man, I saw the stream last week. I saw you started opening Pokemon cards. That's really cool. Me and my son were watching." And I'm like, "What?
Right. Right.
Like, oh, you're one of the lurkers. God, that's crazy." You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
I had somebody the other day was like, "Hey man, what happened to the streams? Are you still doing them?" I'm like, I'm kind of on a break right now. We'll try and bring it back, but like just to stop people coming out of nowhere like that are watching, and it's just super cool. It's fun then when that happens because you're just like, damn, I didn't even know. I didn't know that I was reaching. I was reaching that many people. Or that many people were interested.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, it's dude, you just never know. You never know who's in there. You never know
Mm-mm.
how much time they're spending in there,
Hmm.
which makes it fun, but it's
It does make it fun. It also makes it a little nerve-wracking because, like we said before we started, like, I'm in the restaurant business, but I'm also the general manager. So
right.
the employees see it and they're like, "Oh, he does this," and then they'll come in. It's not all the time they'll say anything, but they're watching, and the next time they see you at work, they're like, "Oh, that was great stream the other day." I'm like, "What the
Right.
fuck?"
Right. You're like that wasn't me. Don't watch that. Like, that's right,
So like you
right.
have to be careful too because you can't give too much information out about your personal life. You can't talk about work. You can't, all these things like,
Hmm.
because you just don't know who's watching and who's monitoring the things that you say, and like they could turn certain things on you. You know what I mean? It's wild.
I mean, yeah, we've been seeing that recently.
Yeah,
That's
it's true,
never a
man.
truer statement has been made. Man, doesn't it it bums me out to think that um basically anyone at that level is just on the, you're like, is anyone good? Like, is there
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
who has everyone done something to, behind closed doors, or to maybe put themselves ahead? Like, is everyone's got flaws, obviously.
100%.
It's just
You know,
theirs are always magnified 100 times over. So,
well,
it
they
just
have a lot
bums
of
me
people
out,
watching.
man. It just
Yeah,
sucks. It
yeah.
sucks.
The thing about it is when you gain that kind of, and it is power essentially. It's like
Yeah,
when you
weird,
gain that
right?
kind of power, like you can either use it for the greater good, or it can corrupt you.
Or you're
And I
tempted,
think,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I mean, there's always temptation, but what are you going to do with, you know what I mean? Like, are you in a relationship? Are there things like, are you going to hurt people by making the horrible decisions? You know what I
Right,
mean? Like,
right.
you shouldn't be doing that. You know that you shouldn't be talking to this person or doing this thing, or, you just see it like
I
time in, time out.
It
People are
never
getting
fails.
busted for crazy shit. It's
It
just like,
never
dude,
fails. It
yeah,
Man, if you ever if it was me, if I ever hit a point like that,
yeah,
blessings, but ever hit a point like that, there's a certain day you wake up and go, all right, here are all the logins and passwords.
yeah,
Here's a management company. You take it. I don't want
yeah,
to look at a single DM. I don't want to
yeah,
respond to a single comment. None of that is me. Like, put in the bio, I do not manage my own accounts. I don't want any access. Like, end
right.
stream, offline. Like, you should get
Well,
away from it. I don't know how you else protect yourself.
I mean, I think that that's the interesting part, is that you're seeing like, do these people have a team, or is it just them? You know what I mean? And I think in the case of Doc, it's just him. Like, you saw that
Yeah,
he managed
yeah.
his own PR with very poorly.
Which I,
And like at his level though,
you
and
can't
maybe
pay
it is
someone
that
to
he
do
had a
that.
team, maybe it is that he was doing this, but he's literally managing. And it's crazy because it's not just, well, I think in hindsight now, right?
Hmm.
That we know what we know, that he lost a lot of money on the Twitch thing, gained a lot of money back, but he never, that revenue stream that he had at Twitch never came back. No
Right.
matter how many people he had in stream and how much money he was being given and all that stuff, it never was what it was when he was peak on Twitch,
Yeah,
right?
2020.
So maybe he
Yeah.
had that, maybe he had a team. And he always, if you ever watched him, he always joked that there was somebody behind the technical, but
Yeah,
really it
yeah,
was
yeah.
just him.
Yeah, he was yelling at the
So
mystery
yeah,
guy. Yeah,
yeah,
the
yeah.
fake sidekick guy. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's very interesting when things start to break down and you realize like, oh, like guy's not as big as you thought he was. He really is. It really is in the streaming world just that person that's managing everything. Like, that's exhausting. Even if you do it full time, like, when you own a business, you're 24/7
Right,
anyways.
right. There are no
So
breaks.
like,
Yeah.
there really aren't, because it's all you. You know what I mean? Who's gonna do it? Like, the
Right.
guy that you hired to do this job is never gonna do what you want to do, because it's your passion, not theirs. You know what I mean? So it's always you. You always have to answer the call at 3 a.m. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's tough. Like, I guess, to go back to what we were talking about, like, in the end of the day, like, it's your decisions that you make that define who you are and what people expect of you. And
Right.
really, that you're a target. Like, you're a
Well,
target
yeah, yeah.
regardless. You know what I mean? Somebody always wants something off of you. Like, there's no, in
Exactly.
success, you have no friends. You have no people that are going to come in and meet you and say, I will do this, this, and this for you. But they want something from you in the end
Right.
too. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
so. Like it's
rare to have the altruistic
yeah,
like
a-
fan base.
and then
It's usually just well, fingers you can count on one hand
hundred
type of
percent,
situation. Yeah.
100%. And then when you do have friends that you started off with and that you ran with, the minute that something goes wrong, I mean, you saw it with Nick and Doc. Nick shit on him the first chance that he got. Like he backed him up, but then when the truth came out and Doc admitted everything, he shit on him the first chance he got. So it's like
Right.
you don't really have anybody. You don't really have friends out there. You know what I mean? Like
I
this is
think your
crazy.
friends are like the people that you establish friendships with when you were 18 to
Prior to your
22.
success. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Outside of that, I don't know, man.
The
I think you
guys
could
you
be
met in
friends with.
college
I
and
don't. Those aren't your friends, though. It's like, let's say, he completely is canceled, right? Like,
yeah, yeah.
no one's picking him up. He can't live stream anywhere. All revenue sources are dead. And I'm not apologizing for his actions. Clearly, something happened. Well,
Right.
we're never gonna know the truth. We're never gonna know what was said on either side. We're never gonna know
Uh,
everything. But we know enough where companies in 2024 are willing to step away from a large revenue generator. Now, YouTube doesn't need him. Twitch didn't want him enough. Didn't need him enough to want him. Um,
yeah.
I don't know what like Kick's vibe is right now. It's not really a site I hang out on, but
No,
um,
me either. I can tell you that
it seems like a site that is less strict about diabolical behavior. You know what I mean?
so Kick is a wild, wild west of streaming,
Yeah,
bro.
yeah.
Like it really is.
So like maybe there's a home from there, and they don't care as much, or they go, hey, I was over there, and but people forget in a year, and you can come build a platform here, so and so. If he even wants to do that, who knows? Who
Sure,
knows?
sure. I mean, who knows if he ever comes back to it? He may not. He may have to go find a 9 to 5. You know,
Yeah.
who like I mean, he's what 41, 42, something like that. So like I've had to do that job search at in the at this age, and it is not fun.
No,
You know what I mean? Like
especially now.
as far as like the restaurant business goes, like I'm in my prime. Like I could go pick up anywhere. You know what I mean? And people will want me because I'm young enough. I've got enough energy. I've got the knowledge. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
it's not easy either. You know. Um. So like I don't know what he's gonna do. He's been doing this for so long. I think the interesting part about that whole thing is in 2020 when all that falls apart. And like the little bit of backstory for me, like when I started in 2020, I didn't really watch streaming. I had done some streaming, like I'd say 5 years prior, 6 years prior. I was really big into sim racing, which is literally like I don't know if anybody's heard of iRacing or even just Gran Turismo. It's like you have a whole cockpit and like the whole thing. Like I had buttons and also the whole
That's
rig and
cool. That's
all,
cool.
all sorts of things. So like I would stream on Twitch like years ago before it was a thing, and like it was the most basic janky system that I could get running. I think I did it through I don't even remember anymore, but I did it through like something easy, like probably XSplit or something like that.
Mhm.
But there was no overlays, there was no transitions, it was just a camera and in the picture.
It's my kind of stream,
Um,
honestly. I love
yeah,
just a camera and like maybe
yeah,
a sub count. That's it.
yeah. And then so I stopped for a little bit. So I had an idea and I'd watched some sim racing, guys that were pretty big in the community. But like when it came to like, okay, well, we're gonna close, what are you gonna do? Like, okay, I don't know, maybe I'll stream. So then like you get, oh, I love this guy. So I remember when I was playing with a couple of Call of Duty guys and they were like, we love Dr. Disrespect, blah blah blah. So I was like, okay, let me look this guy up. And I was like, oh, 80s nostalgia. Like this guy he's hitting all the buttons. So like I took a lot of things. I watched him and I watched other people, Summit, all the big guys,
Yeah.
not knowing any little guys or medium creators. It just was like, okay, here's the people to watch, not with no knowledge of what I'm watching, and just like trying to pick up things. Doc was like the one that like stood out to me the most. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So like I had a huge like I liked him a lot. I thought like his character was crazy, his production was insane. Nobody had production like
Best
that.
production in the game,
Still
100%.
still nobody has production like that. Um,
Soon nobody will have production like that.
it's crazy.
Ooh. Ooh.
And then so I took a lot of things from him. I made my own thing, but I took a lot of things from what he was doing and was like, okay, let's implement these into without completely like, taking inspiration from that. And then when he left, remember when he got banned in 2020 was the same time that the Microsoft um streaming system went down. I can't
Mixer?
remember the name of it. Mixer. So Twitch had several creators that they wanted to bring over, Shroud, Ninja, and then there was another major one too. And so like for me at the time, I was like, knowing what we know now, it's obviously not the same. But me at the time, I was like, oh, they need to make room for the creators. And clearly they didn't like Doc for something. So they've got to pay out Shroud. Shroud's the biggest streamer in the world. They got to pay him out somehow.
Mhm.
And Ninja's right there with them. So like, oh, that's why they moved on him. Now we know what we know, you know. But like at the time I was like, yo, that's crazy. Like they really moved him because they needed to make room for other big streamers, so like he went, I followed, and then when he started, him and Nick was the one that got in trouble for saying a lot of transphobia shit, and then he followed suit but not as hardcore, and I was like, yeah, that's it for this whole side of that. I'm not like, you guys are like outrageous. It's like macho BS shit that they pulled, and I was just like, damn, dude, like I looked up to these guys. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
it's like, did I get it wrong? Or was I also the problem? You know what I mean? So like trying
Nah, no,
to
no, no. You're not the
yeah.
problem. They're entertainers. They're entertaining.
No, for
You know,
sure, for
they
sure. But it's
they
like am I seeing I think what I'm trying to get is like, am I seeing the world in the wrong way? Or is it am I behind in the situation? Like, is there things that I'm missing? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
nah. It's
why are these
it's
guys acting like this?
it's it's everyone again. Everyone, I don't know. Everyone's human, right? And like your
Yeah.
favorite musician does something horrible, you go, damn, like that guy, or and I thought Kevin Spacey was like he
Oh,
is one of the greatest actors ever, and then all
absolutely.
that stuff comes out, like, god damn it, dude, like stop,
Yeah.
like I want my
Yeah.
heroes to die before I find out all this, but you end up finding out anything
I
anyway.
mean,
But
yeah.
there are good people, and you just don't think about them because you don't hear about them, so they're not on the
Right.
news for not
No,
being
that's
like
true. Yeah, yeah,
horrible.
yeah. Yeah.
It's the same thing with anybody in the entertainment industry, and I include sports in that. You go, man, like
Everything.
I love this football player, and they're like, oh, here's some footage of him beating up his girlfriend in an elevator. And you're like, okay, I guess I don't like this team anymore. It's like, damn it, like come on.
That's crazy.
But you just,
That's crazy.
yeah, but it happens. Like I'm still waiting for Taylor Swift to be involved in some, overseas, like something, whatever. I'm
Careful,
waiting for it. I'm
careful.
waiting for it. It's good because I'm like waiting for it. You're waiting for your heroes to fall or fail or whatever.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
I
but I don't know.
I think that's what like my friend was saying, never meet your heroes. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, yeah.
like and I think over the years too, like I'm like, I don't like all these people are probably flawed. And I remember like when the Me Too movement happened, I told my mom, I was like, just be aware that all of your favorite people are probably shitty people. You know what I mean?
They're
They
all
probably
going to
do
jail.
horrible things. She's
You're
like,
not
"Oh,
going to
you
see them
really
in movies for a long time.
you really think so?" And I'm like, "Just watch. Just watch
Yeah.
what happens." And sure enough, like there was a lot of people that came and gone. And there was a lot of innocent people that took the hit too. You know what I mean? Like I used to watch this, I don't remember, Toby something. I can't remember his name, but he was
McGuire?
very big. No,
Wait,
no, no.
as a
He's a very
movie.
it was a he was a big YouTuber.
Oh shit.
And he got accused of something and he lost everything. He had a book deal, he had a video game deal, like he had all these things in the pipeline, and he
Hmm.
was like he had four channels going at the same time, like, and he was doing a lot. But then I was like, what happened to him? And I went back and watched a bunch of videos, kind of, talking what happened, and then like realizing like, damn, like
And
you
so he
you
did it. He did stuff.
he didn't. No,
Oh,
he
he
did. He
didn't. Yeah.
actually he didn't. He said he claims he didn't. I think that when everything breaks down, that actually it was a girl that was wanted to be with him, and he made some mistakes. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like
Right.
you shouldn't have done that, dude. Like you shouldn't have, allowed her to sleep in your bed, and you shouldn't have allowed this and that to happen. Like,
Right. Right.
in the meantime, you're saying nothing happened, but like, did it happen the way he said? I don't think so.
Nobody
You know what
ever
I
really
mean? So
knows
like,
unless you have
you,
the
you don't,
receipts.
you
Yeah.
you
But
don't,
the
but
rumor
like,
mill's so powerful.
100%. And I mean, you have all these websites too that are all they do, and like Dextero and all of those companies have kind of become that too, where it's
It's like a gossip
um
rag, It's just
yeah,
not
that's all it does. And that they focus on the internet drama, like, and like, I can't, what is that guy's
it's like
name
TMZ, but for
for
content
streamers?
creators. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
weird.
it's
I
wild.
unfollowed Dexter. I can't.
I
It's
yeah, I
there's some
block
stupid shit
I
on there.
I never followed them. Like, I think I followed them when they were in their prime, when they were really good, when they would focus on video games and they would do this. And then as it started to shift, I was like unfollow, and then it would still end up on my feed, and I was like, mute. I can't. I just can't do this anymore.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and most of these most of these websites are turned horrible. All the ones that we used to love, and I mean, 15 years ago, IGN was like the leader, and they had all sorts of stuff. They were ahead of the curve on everything. But then you see that they just started to, I think it's like, as the companies started to gain their own voice, and they were like, "Hey, we can do this without E3. We can do this without reporters. Like, all we have to do is put a good video presentation together, or even go up on stage and say, this is what we have coming up next." You know what I
Right,
mean?
right. They lost some
And
like legit
one
journalism.
Yeah, and once they started doing that, then everybody else was like, we we've lost a complete revenue stream, and we're not the first to get, the news out. Like, they're doing that themselves."
Right.
So, I find that aspect of what used to be journalism, is kind of, video game journalism especially, is kind of dead, you know? So,
I'm sure there are some small pockets of legit. I follow some decent creators on TikTok who are
sure.
um decent. They talk about games coming out. They talk about they'll go in this studio is making this game, and you might recognize that because they made this game in this game. So this is why the system in this game is this way, and like you might notice some
Right.
graphics are this way, and like these artists
Yeah.
came over from this company. You're like, okay, this is I can get behind this. But I would say most of the mainstream stuff is just about capturing streamer drama, which I can't lie, I've got sucked into many times. And
So
then I
quite a few
realized I was like,
times.
dude, what is the difference between this and me going and buying the National Enquirer at the line at the grocery store? It's the
E
same. It's just smut. It's like smut journalism.
Exactly.
And then
Yeah.
I'm like, why do I like this? And then I had to just step by. I was like, dude, I gotta block. So I unfollowed, blocked everything. I was like, I can't read this anymore because it's not journalism. They're like, oh, I'm a gaming
It's not.
journalist. And you're like, this isn't journalism, dude.
No.
You just copy pasted someone else's tweet and then put it into ChatGPT, rewrote it, copy and pasted it back, and then took the same image. Like, it's not. This is trash, and you're trash.
Right. ChatGPT is hilarious though. Like, because I mean, that
Come on.
shaped a lot of what we're at now. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
I had some questions on Google today and like yesterday, and then they have their own AI bot that gives you answers right off the top. And I remember, like, I'd say like 2 months ago, I asked a question in the Google search, and the AI answered, and it was wrong. And I was like,
Yes, dude,
I know that
dude.
that in 2008 in Formula One, that they didn't all run Mercedes engines. Like, that's not what happens there. Like, what are
Right.
you talking about? Like, this has got to be. And then I went on this deep dive to see if I could turn it off. You can't. It's there.
Dude, Google
You
has
know.
been such trash as of late. One, for
Yeah.
the AI answers, two, for the sponsored stuff. So
Yeah.
like I will ask a question and the AI will go, we think this is what you're asking, and give me an answer they think. And then once you put AI in front of it, I'm like, is this actually facts? Are you answering what you think the answer is based on 100,000 articles? So you've just like pieced a sentence together. But what if some of those articles are in opposition of what this answer is, and you're just taking bits of both, and you're like, well, your answer's in here, like figure it out.
Yeah.
And then if you don't like the AI answer, I have to go through a whole like row or two of ads. I was like, hey, where does pepper come from? And
Right.
then you scroll down and it's like, oh, did you want to buy this 5-pound bag of pepper from Costco? I'm like, no, dude, I
Do you
didn't
wanna
want to buy this.
do you
And
wanna apply to do schooling at Pepperdine?
right,
Like,
right. Did you
come
mean
on.
salt? Like, dude, no, like I didn't. It's becoming not good. It's not good. And it's just, I don't know. It's and I'm thinking high school Google, what is this
Yeah.
answer? And it would just
Yeah.
post in bold, no bullshit, no sponsored links. It's just that the answer is X. And you're like, yes,
Yeah.
this is what I need. I don't
That's
know, man.
sponsored
I don't
shit.
even know
That's
how we got
sponsored
here.
shit. And per clicks is where they make their money. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? They make
Yeah.
all their money off advertisement, which is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
So of course they lean into it, and then they essentially just ruin the product that they created
And
in
then
the
you
first
go,
place.
and,
You know?
and then you go, okay, is the AI answer you're feeding me, is that the actual correct answer? Or are
Right.
you, because AI, I mean, humans wrote AI. So are you just facilitating what answers are being fed to me, which they already
Or is
do,
it actually
which they've already
pulling
do.
from, all the data that is being you're presenting with to me? You know?
Right. Where
Like,
is
is
the
it a
data?
summary of that data?
Exactly. Like,
So
is the source it's pulling from, is that a real place?
right.
Or is
Yeah.
this some like middle schooler's paper that they post online? Like, I don't know where this is coming from.
You
Is
don't.
this real?
You really you just don't. Because I don't think that the AI gives you sources either. I don't really look that deep into it. Once I like it did me wrong, I was just like, that's enough, and I always skip right past it. I'm like, I
Right.
don't even want to spend my time on it.
I wish it was like
They-
Reddit
how-
and it would just deliver the most upvoted answers.
right? Yeah. I love Reddit.
Dude, I
Absolutely.
get more information from Reddit now that I do
So
Google.
good, dude.
I get information
So
I didn't
good.
know I wanted. And
Yeah.
I get information I definitely don't want off of Reddit, so it's like a pretty good spot.
I don't spend a lot of time on there, but like when I do, I usually spend. I think when I was really into Pokemon, like I spent a lot of time on the TCG subreddit, and I was just like, "This is great. This is fantastic."
It's been helping me a lot with D&D and Baldur's Gate because
Okay.
I've kind of jumped into both of those this year.
Yeah.
And it's been great. It's been super helpful, super
That's
informative.
awesome.
Way more than Google. As of late.
So is that what you're playing now? Is the Baldur's Gate?
Yeah, doing Baldur's Gate once a week. Joined like the fringe ad, like a filler ad to a D&D group. That
Okay.
are meeting every Saturday. Unfortunately, one of the guys is in Australia, so the session starts at midnight for me,
Ooh,
which
yeah.
is fucking brutal. But
Uh-huh.
it's every other week, and I'm like, I think I can do it. We'll see. It's getting harder to stay up late and be okay the next day.
Yeah. Yeah.
As I'm sure you know. And yeah, that wasn't a knock. I'm just saying that's
No, you're
that's
fine.
reality. So been doing that. So just started that. Ordered my first pair of like legit dice. So I'm pretty excited
Nice.
for that.
Hell yeah.
But like I played D&D in the past, but it felt very official. Like the guy, I was kind of impressed. I was like, okay, maybe this is what a proper group should be or look like.
Sure.
He ran through, he's like, here are my rules for all these different scenarios. If you're used to all these things, here's like all the RP rules, here are all the real life rules, when it comes to substances, or are there certain topics that you might be affected by based on real life situations you've been in that you don't want me to do?
Oh.
Here are all the
wow.
subjects. Here's all the subject matter I won't DM because I'm not comfortable talking about it.
Sure.
Man, I feel like I don't even know what to say, but it felt very official. So I was like, okay, I feel like I have to be on my best behavior now and act a little more, because it is a game ultimately, but I guess there's a lot of rules to with D&D. Like I don't know how familiar you are with it, but like you have to operate within to make sure that it's a good game for everybody else.
Absolutely, yeah.
So he was talking about like shared spotlight. I don't know if that's a common term, but where basically he's gonna, like, every hero is gonna get their hero moment, and I'm not gonna tell you when that's coming, but I'm gonna put everyone in that situation where you can come out victorious and be the hero, or fail miserably and everybody dies, type of thing. So
oh shit. Okay, yeah.
I'm excited. I was like, okay, this is gonna be challenging. we're gonna have to use our thinking caps. He was like, this is
Yeah,
gonna be really hard. And I was like, okay, sweet, I'm excited. So do you play a lot
that
of
sounds.
D&D right now, or have
I,
you?
I
Uh,
don't know.
okay.
I so like when I was a teenager in high school, I'd say we played. There D&D was floating around, but at the time it was Vampire the Masquerade, and that was the big before the games before like every vampire game seems to be in that Vampire the Masquerade era, right? And so it was like every vampire that was ever in film, every different iteration, like Nosferatu and all that stuff. They
Yeah.
put them into this game, and then we'd play a little bit, but it was mainly like it wasn't set up like that. Like it wasn't professional. It was just a bunch of kids getting around,
That's how it
rolling
usually
dice,
is. I
and you know
feel.
what I mean?
Yeah,
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 and,
yeah.
and having fun with it. I really liked it. I thought that it was very well done, and like that world that they had built was really a cool world, and especially being a teenager, like and pre like internet, like it was like this is imagination city. You could do anything. You could be any one of these types of characters, and you could be really fucking bad, or you could be kind of like an anti-hero, or stuff like that. So like it was great for the imagination wise, because you could like think up a lot of things and a lot of scenarios that you could put your people through, or be put through yourselves.
Right.
So yeah. So that was we did that for a little while. And then I know Marvel came out with one, and I tried to DM that, and that was not good. I was not a good
Oh
DM.
wait, when
Uh
they came out with their own like
they
tabletop type
came out with
thing?
their own table. Yeah, it's so like yeah, I don't I had all the books. I don't know what happened to
When
them
was
all.
that?
That's like I'm still in high school, so that's like 93,
That came out.
94.
That came out in the 90s.
Yeah. Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
surprised they haven't
Yeah.
tried to. Have they revamped it, or is it still going?
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it. I don't spend when I go. So D&D has made like an alt like really come back strong. So
It's
I'm not
crossed over.
sure
Yeah.
it is. It absolutely has. So when you go to the comic book store, or when you go to any bookstore at all, like, and they have their those books, it's all D&D. That's all I mainly see. I don't see any of the vampire stuff. I haven't seen any of the Marvel stuff, like none of that. So
I'm
I'm
sure
not, I'm
it's
not
it's
really
like
sure what's available.
more in like a local game store type thing, maybe.
Probably.
Just because like
Yeah.
D&D is what's selling, so
Yeah.
they're gonna just fill it up with those.
Yeah.
Or like
Everything's
Warhammer.
always. Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Warhammer's
Definitely
crazy
Warhammer
popular right
stuff.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it
Um,
really depends on the comic book store that you go to, because like it's weird how geek culture is like niches within niches, right? Like it's either that you go down this pipeline, or you're this pipeline, or you know what I mean? Everybody's got their own niche, and like I think like when we talk like uh, I don't know, I'm gonna go down this road, but like we were growing up in the 90s, like all of like everybody watched the same TV show. We listened to mostly the same music. That was like it was hip hop, it was country, it was rock, right?
right.
And those were the things that we all, the water cooler conversations that would happen, quote unquote, like for on every Monday, like, oh, did you hear the new, albums would come out Tuesdays, movies would come out Fridays, video games would come out Tuesdays. We'd have to stand in line at
Mm-hmm.
midnight to get the new Call of
Oh,
Duty, and they get
like a
the new
midnight release.
Halo. Yeah, they
Right.
get all that stuff. Like, um, those were great. Those times were interesting, because you had a bunch of people standing in line that the only thing they had in common was this video game. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
and that
Right.
was it. And then I remember like standing in line for hours to get Halo 2, and the guy behind me, we all just started talking, and the next thing you know, he's like, here's my gamer tag, add me when you
Right.
get home. I
Yeah.
lived
Sick.
across the street, and
Did
he
you
lived
really?
on base. Yeah.
Oh,
so
that's
like
hilarious.
so like I got home, and like I added him up, he accepted me, and then I jumped in his lobby and like assassinated him, because like he was just chilling. He's like, I didn't even know you were in here. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm sneaky, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and
Right.
that
Right.
that
Right.
guy and I held a relationship for, I don't know, 10 years. You know what I mean? Until we started like not gaming the same way. So like it was different. Now everything is like you could do whatever you want. You can listen to whatever niche of hip hop you want to. You can listen to this subset, like you could listen to metal, you can listen to all these other things. So everybody's got their own individual way, and people don't always connect the same way anymore. I find that fascinating when I think about that, like how we grew up post internet and then how we are now, or pre-internet, and how we are now with all the information that we're given and all the things that we're fed. You know what I mean? So it's like
Yeah.
when a game comes along that everybody gets into playing and everybody can talk about, like it's like one of the best things in the world. Because it's like, oh, you're playing this. What did you do with this? How did you do this? Oh, here's some points and tips and stuff like that. Like this doesn't happen very often anymore. You know.
Yeah, I'd say Fortnite did that. I'd say at
Mhm.
least for younger kids, like especially
Sure.
for collecting skins. I would
Absolutely.
say Apex did that briefly.
Yeah.
I mean it's still
I think
going
good
obviously, but like when it was more approachable for everybody.
for sure.
Um, I would say Helldivers did that recently.
100%.
Um, trying to think.
Kendrick and Drake, that did that like for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I don't know how it is. I think it seems like a worldwide phenomenon because I see people in like Africa singing "They Not Like Us." You know what I mean? So it's like,
Right.
damn, bro, like you don't really you don't see we don't have those like cultural moments as much anymore. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
so when
yeah.
stuff like that happens, it's like, whoa, this is crazy.
Tiger King. I think Tiger King was
Yeah,
one that united
100%.
everyone. So we still have the moments. They just have to be so good.
Yeah,
It's not as I don't know, because there's so much content and everyone's consuming all content at all times.
all the time.
The level of which something goes viral has to be it's a lot higher.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. It
and I know,
has to hit the
yeah, the meme has to
like
hit so much harder than it
yeah,
used to.
the
But
hot to a girl.
yeah, for whatever reason, just hit. Like it just hit. She's gonna be
Wild.
popular for a month. She's gonna try to make as much money as she can, which anybody would and should.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
yeah, she'll be gone next month and it'll be somebody else doing something else. But
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like the lack of selection back then, I think helped. Although I'm not gonna complain with because I can come home and spend 8 hours doing exactly what I want, consuming the exact pieces of
Exactly.
media
Right,
that
right,
I
right.
want to. The problem maybe is like it's harder to find people who do and enjoy and consume everything exactly like you do.
Sure.
So it's like easier to I don't know, man. It was way easier when you had to get a physical copy of a game and you didn't have any money, so you could only buy one game a year, and you're like, this is the one that I want,
Yeah.
and it ends up being really good. And games were also completed, so I knew when I bought Halo 2, the game was done. Like I didn't have to,
That's
now I can buy it in pre-alpha phase. It's shit, but I'm like, it'll be good in like 8 months. I'll revisit it.
I feel like that the pre-alpha, the early access stuff has ruined gaming. Because I feel like we don't have like, yeah, it's great for the creators like that are making these games because they have people that are funding them
It's
directly.
like
They don't have to,
free. We're
you
paying
know,
them to beta test. It's so crazy,
essentially,
dude.
yes.
We're
So
paying
like
them to test the game, dude. It's so
but
crazy.
like a game like Power World should be completely realized before it drops, right? And then we have a major understanding of what kind of game that is that we're buying, but instead you get like this one viral moment that happens for a week and nobody else plays the game after that. Like so and then 2 years from now it'll release, but it'll be we've already played that game. We already saw what it's about. Like what could you have really have done to make this game make me want to go back and play it or, you
Right.
know, or whatever. And I
Battle
just like,
Pass, of course.
yeah, oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh my
That's why, man.
gosh.
That's why I've moved a lot more toward um, single player adventures as of late.
Sure.
Strategy games, stuff that's older because it's done.
Yeah.
Like I can complete it from start to finish, type of thing.
Yeah.
That's why I like hero shooters because I don't have to put any thought into it, and there is no progression, and like the
Sure.
game is as it is.
Yeah.
So like I really liked Overwatch, and I like Paladins a lot, and I like the hero shooter thing.
Mhm.
Because I know exactly what it's going to be when I get in. There's a different meta, but obviously I'm not going pro, so I just do whatever I want to do. I can
Sure.
play my fix of 20 to 50 games a week or whatever, if that's what I'm choosing to do. And then
Sure.
this is never not going to be, there's an update every time I open the game. So it's, I don't know, versus a game like Power World, or like, imagine if GTA releases 2 years before it's done.
Right.
That's going to be shitty. It's a nightmare. So
Yeah,
I'd rather go buy GTA 4 and I know all the updates are out already. It's like I'd rather wait, just the way we consume stuff. I'd rather wait for every episode of the show to be released and binge it all at once versus like, don't just give me the pilot, dude. Like, I don't want to see it. I'm not, because you can't glue me to the TV at 7 p.m. on Tuesdays to watch the next one. I don't have time for this. So I'll wait till all 10 episodes are released and then I'll watch it all at once.
Yeah, I find a lot of people do that. And then I find that I get caught in these Twitter arguments, or, like when you get on Twitter and like, they're like, here's a spoiler for the next episode that just came out 2 hours earlier. Like, what? Like, I can't be at the TV at 7 o'clock when this drops. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I've got a family. We've got things that are going on. So I've found that we're week in, week out watching stuff like the Acolyte, stuff like Kaiju number 8. We went to go look for Kaiju today, and I guess maybe they didn't put an episode out this past weekend, or maybe we already watched it and we're just like lost. I don't know. But like, we're like, where the fuck is that episode that was supposed to drop on Saturday? It never came. So I find that we're doing that more and more lately, which is fine to me.
I'm a big football fan, and like we're basically starved for content. So whenever stuff drops, like I like the Hard Knocks shows, I really do. I think they're really fascinating, and I'm just like understanding the game of football a lot more. But again, they only released one episode. I'm like, dude, I don't. This already happened. All of this already happened.
Is that the Giants one?
Yeah.
Are you watching?
Let me in. Right. Like, let me in.
That's gotta be wild. Like. That season, I assume that season's going to be wild, because the Giants, they're the Giants. Like, you never know what you're going to get, and usually, like in the NFC, I don't really watch football as much as I used to. Be a hardcore Raider fan, and I'll always be a Raider fan. But I have a hard time watching football now. But like, the NFC East is always going to be a shit show.
Right.
Like, you never know. Like, the Cowboys probably not going to be good.
They'll be good until the first week of playoffs.
Are the Eagles going to be good? Maybe not. Are the Giants going to be good? Absolutely not. Were they going to find some ways to win Super Bowls? Yes. You know what I mean? So you just don't know out of that division, like, what's going to happen everywhere. And you're just like watching it from the sidelines and being like, Jesus, bro.
Right.
Like,
but I watch a lot more now because of fantasy football. So I really love fantasy football because it's a game, right? And I love games. And it's
absolutely.
Like, hey man, and there's a little bit of like this rush of gambling to it. I'm not a gambler by any means, but just with friends, it like keeps me in touch with my friend group. I live in a different state now. I live in Georgia, and most of my most friends live in Washington State. So it's like a way that we can stay connected. And I love the like, you think you're in control, but not really. So you look like a genius when it all comes together, but when it fails, you're like, you just don't respond to anyone. You're like, all right, I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. It's the facade of control, but it's 100%. A game, and I like it. And so that got me more into these shows like Hard Knocks, because now I'm watching, and now I'm interested in players, not just teams. Like, oh man, his story's cool. Like, oh man, he looks so good. Like, definitely gonna try to draft him because he's gonna help my team and take money from my best friends or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
But then they're basically like player profiles. And you learn, you're like, all right, Aaron Rodgers is like this weird old hippie guy. You're like, how's he still playing professional football? And then his like best friend on the team just turned 21. You're like, how are these guys connected at all? This is so strange.
Wild.
And then you realize, oh my God, like everyone in the NFL, the average age is like 25. This is so crazy. Oh, they're kids. Because you watch them, you're like, oh, these are all grown men. And then you're like, yeah, this is, John Smith. He's 358 pounds and can bench 225 58 times, and he just ran 40 yards in under 5 seconds. You're like, oh, that guy's 40 years old or 35 years old. And they're like, oh man, he just turned 19. You're like, what the fuck is going on? Like, so great. It's just, you forget that they're kids.
They
And
are,
you see,
and
yeah,
th-
yeah,
there's a lot of pressure on them, and there has been a lot of pressure on them
oh
for a
yeah,
very long time. You know what I mean? Some of these kids are, I mean, playing football since a very young age, like 8 years old. You know what I
right.
mean? And it's like coaches, their parents, like their teams, their, and as it only gets more and more the higher they get. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
And
And then you
like,
see him do some
uh,
dumb shit, like
oh
some
my
off the field
gosh,
dumb shit.
dude.
Like, how could you throw that
Yeah,
away? And then you're like, that
right.
guy's brain isn't fully developed yet. He's
No,
20 years old. I was a dumbass at 20 years old. I just didn't have
yeah.
$10 million.
I
That's the
can't.
difference.
I
Like,
can't imagine, like, you know what I mean? Like, I
right,
remember, like, I'm just a young guy, and we're, me and my homies are drinking all the time, and like, I remember, like, oh, I was gonna take like this shot or a couple shots or whatever before, and then
right,
I'm gonna drive down, 5 minutes down the street, and like, as I'm in the car, I'm like, Jesus Christ, dude, you've been drinking. Like, if
right.
you get pulled over in the short amount of time, your life is
Life's
over.
over. It's over.
Your life's over. Like, and I don't have, I have a family and all that stuff to look after, but yeah, like, I can see how you're in positions where people are pushing you, physically and, emotionally, verbally, in a public space to get reaction out of you,
And
you
now
know?
and now everyone has access to you because they all follow you on Instagram. So the entire
Exactly.
world who's a super fan of your team is now in your
Yeah,
pocket. Here's $10
yeah,
million in a Bugatti. And oh, yeah, you get 3 months off. See you later.
right. Yeah,
What? Of
yeah,
course. Of course. Now, I'm not an apologist for people like, look, I'm very lucky, right? I've made dumb decisions, haven't been caught, haven't gone to jail, haven't hurt anybody. Like, very, very lucky.
right.
Very, very
Yeah,
lucky.
yeah, yeah,
But I also know that if it happened, if something happened, if I got pulled over, if like whatever, it's not in front of the biggest entertainment product in the country.
sure.
And like, the pressure's got to be crazy. It's got to
It
be
has to be
insane,
insane. Yeah, it has
unfathomable,
to be.
like no concept. And then you go, and then then you talk about their background. You're like, well, this guy, he really struggled. He came up, he like, he's supporting his whole family. He bought his mom a house. Oh, that's awesome. It's like, and then
Yeah,
he let loose for one night because he's the pressure to be the sole breadwinner for his family, his family of 20
right.
people. And now you got all the weirdo uncles coming out of the woodwork, like, you owe me
Yeah,
$500. You're like, what?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
what?
yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't even know
Wild,
how we
dude.
got here. It's crazy. That's point being, that's why I like football. It's like the storytelling is awesome. Drama
Sure.
behind it is awesome.
There is quite a bit, and I think that in the same sense, that's why I don't watch it anymore, because you got like Aaron Hernandez and stuff like that, like the
Uh,
worst possible case scenario that there is, and like, and then when they drop that documentary on Netflix, you watch that and you're like, oh, they protected this guy. They
right.
knew,
Right.
they knew
Oh,
that he was
right.
and it wasn't just then, it was at the college level too. Like, but if they it just like, if you have the talent, they'll let you be the worst human
And you
being
make
that
the
you can
money.
be,
And you make
because
the
you're
money.
making the
Yeah.
money and
Yeah.
you're winning the championships, and that's all that matters.
Right.
Like, and
Especially
I
at
was just
college.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
oh wow. And then like how they treat, like, the way that they push. It's like, I guess in a sense it's gladiator type style behavior and stuff like that, but it's
Sure.
like a lot of the stuff that comes with it, and a lot of the ways that, like the NFL not protecting their people, and looking, just being money over anything, and just basically
Corporation.
moving these people like they're cattle, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
but in the end of the day, like, these kids, which they are kids, they're
They're
children,
kids.
when they leave football in their 30s, they have to
If
live
they're
with the
lucky.
consequences.
If they're
Yes.
lucky.
If they're
Yeah.
they have to live with the consequences of making bad decisions as a child for a team, for their own, for their own personal gain. Like somebody like Junior Seau, like,
Yeah.
shot
It's
himself
so
in the
sad.
chest
So sad.
because he wanted to preserve his brain. You know what I mean? Like, that shit, I was just like,
Oh,
whoa,
yeah. And on top of
when
yeah,
that
say you make all
happened.
the
You
best
know what I mean?
decisions. Now you got the money, but you have no real life skills. Oh, also now like you have the physical body of a 75-year-old man because you
Yeah.
just banged it out for 30
Yeah.
years in the
And,
NFL, and
and,
now your knees don't
and
work. You're like, what?
the brain of an 80-year-old.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And
Like,
no health
I,
insurance post football. I don't think the NFL
absolutely
supports
not.
the guys after the league. I'm pretty sure they don't.
And not unless you're like the guy. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, not unless you're like, you have the ability to go out and work outside of football.
Right,
You know what I
right.
mean? Like there's how many players in a team, or how many players, there's 53 players, 32 teams, or however many. You know what I mean? That's a small amount of group of people. um 10, 20, 30% of those guys aren't going to have jobs the next year. You know what I mean?
Right,
And like,
exactly, yeah, because
and they
you're
haven't
always
made
looking for a
enough of
reason to
an
get rid of you. Yeah.
yeah, they haven't made enough of an impact. I mean, like the guys from like the 70s, the 60s, and the 70s, the 80s, even those guys, like I feel really bad. You'll go in
These
like,
guys are
this
fucked
guy was
up.
a part of a championship team, and now he's sitting in a Walmart begging for autographs and signatures
Right,
and
right.
giving out signatures for money. You know what I mean? Like,
They should, man, they should
uh,
treat, I think they should, to a certain level, treat it kind of like, let's say best case scenario, like veteran affairs. Like
sure,
you've, if you have served in the NFL for what's called 4 years, then
right.
you now are provided health insurance for life, because
Yeah,
you've damaged yourself permanently for the entertainment and the product. And
yeah.
like, don't tell me the NFL doesn't have money for this. They for sure do. Um,
Oh, they do, but at the end of the day, like they cannot afford to take money from the from the shareholders, which is essentially the ownership. You know what I mean? The
right.
ownership runs the NFL, like, and that's part of the problem with that too, is that they don't have a governing body that oversees. Like, I think, is it Goodell that's still
Yeah, he's still the
the
commissioner.
he's
Yeah.
just a mouthpiece for the ownership. Like,
Yeah, and
he doesn't do
his job is
anything
to
in this.
protect the integrity of the league, right? It's like
Exactly.
generate
You know what I
money,
mean?
protect the
So
league. Yeah.
yeah, and I mean, most leagues in this country too are, they what's the word I'm looking for? They don't allow outside influence or people to, like other teams. Like if you look at, like, if you go to Europe, I'm a big European football or soccer guy.
Sure.
And if you look at, like, it's a religion over there, but
Yep.
like it's the religion because everybody grows up playing soccer. You know what I mean? Like in every city, every town has its own team. So like they envelop and bring all those teams. Like, so if you look at like English Premier League, for example, all of those, there's like, I don't know, hundreds of teams within their one structure, their big pyramid that they have. And English Premier is at the top, and then everything else below there's like four major championships, and they
Mm-hmm.
all move together. You'll never see that in America because they don't want a revenue share. You know what I mean? And like the guys, like, even somebody like, I don't know. I don't want to, like, maybe like the Cleveland Browns, or even the Vegas Raiders at some point. Um, they are terrible. You know what I mean? Like, and you're never gonna see those. Maybe they'll have a good run like once every 20 years or something like that, but you're not gonna see that team always in the mix, like the
Right,
Patriots, or
right.
or teams like that. Because they either don't have the organizational structure. But like, what if what if you brought other teams together, other leagues together, and you all created this huge monster conglomerate of football? Like, that would be insane. And like, there's something to actually play for, not just a Super Bowl. You know what I mean? Like,
Right, right.
what
Yeah.
if
I think
uh,
like relegation would be really cool.
it would be amazing. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I think that basketball would really do well for that. Like, because like in American sports, outside of American football, there's really no incentive to play well in 82 games throughout the season. Like,
Oh,
until
dude, yeah. Yeah.
halfway through the season, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
there's no real
Baseball, dude.
reason. Yeah.
160
Baseball's
some game.
crazy. It's
Too
crazy.
many games. Way too many
It's
games.
crazy. And each game's like 3-4 hours long. Like, I'm just like,
Dude, cut it
dude.
in half. Cut it in half. Why not have 80? Why not be like closer to an NBA season?
Yeah. And
I'd watch
but
so much more baseball. I'd watch so much more baseball.
I don't want to compare the two, but like in English Premier League, every game counts. You know what
Right.
I mean? I don't every team plays
Because
twice.
point system.
So there's 20 in there. So it's a point system. There's no playoffs, but there is an in-season tournament. There's several that happen, and plenty of ways for you to incentivize your team to play well and to not make mistakes and to win every game. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like, if you lose a game or two in English Premier, you're screwed for your whole season. You have to play catch up because there's always going to be that team that's got that much depth and that much talent that they're just going to steamroll you. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like if you're not careful. So I find it interesting when I watch this and then I make the comparisons to American sports sometimes, and I'm just like, the only one that's doing it right is football, but they can't do more anyways because people would just get hurt all the time. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
it's
Yeah.
crazy, dude. Like
Um,
so
yeah, I was I'll make one last point here and then we'll jump into
sure.
20 questions. But yeah, I was gonna say the only issue I have with the EPL and everything is just I don't like the way I don't like that the salary works because what ends up happening, I feel, is you get an uber wealthy individual that comes in, buys
Sure.
all the best talent, and then that team's just good as long as they feel like it. That's my
Yeah.
only problem with EPL stuff is like it seemingly at the top of the table is like the top 10 teams over the last 10 years are generally the same ones if they have the
Yeah.
same ownership. And you're like, yeah, we already know who's going to win. But like the interesting stuff's always at the bottom three because you're like, oh, damn, this guy, like they don't win this
Yeah.
game, they go
Yeah.
down.
I
And then you
mean,
lose money. But
you play for the top four, you know what I mean? And you don't it's funny because I'm an Arsenal guy, so we came in second, but it was like it came down to the final game of the year. But
right.
we had to get help from another team to be able to but we if we didn't make the mistakes in the season, we wouldn't be in this position. But yeah, it is the big teams are usually up there, but like you're seeing like Manchester United had the
Man
worst finish
City.
ever.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And they're eighth place, but they still won the FA Cup. Like, you know what I mean? So there's
Right.
like it's interesting. There is a lot of drama and a lot of things that happen, and like the
Yeah.
middle of the table is not always what you think it is, and you're not always going to see. I mean, the biggest teams there is a budget cap, and we've seen like City over the past 9 years, parent potentially has cheated the cap. So there's a
Wouldn't
lot
be
of things there,
surprised.
but then
Wouldn't be
a
surprised.
lot of the big teams have like the biggest depth of like bringing young kids up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
The farm
I
system.
think
Yeah.
yeah, the farm system is massive for them. So
Well, cool, man. I started to cut you off there. We're at an hour and 12 minutes, so I wanted to jump
we're
into
good.
these 20 questions here before we sign
Sure.
out. But before we play, again, remind everyone where they can find you, what platforms you're on most, and where you want any special projects you want promoted or that you're working on.
No, we're not really doing anything at the moment. The idea of coming back and doing streaming again is definitely something that we want to get to. It's got to be right for us right now, and it just isn't. There's a lot going on at work, and that takes up a majority of my time and mental
Sure.
capacity. So, but yeah, XIMCellX on all platforms except for Twitter, which is Selfing. But if you type in XIMCellX, you'll find me there. And then yeah, so I'm just around. We're doing you can find me anywhere. And like if you have messages, you want to set up games, like I play Call of Duty, I started playing First Descendant. So if you're interested in that, I've got a little bit of knowledge on that game, which is pretty fun. I highly recommend it. Play Warzone a lot. I'm willing to play anything. So new games, old games, it doesn't matter to me. Hit me up and we can figure something out.
Sounds like a plan, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay. We will jump into 20 questions here. 20 questions, yes or no questions only. I'm going to keep track, and this is going to be
Oh
guess
no.
that game. So
Oh,
I
oh
tried
no.
to, what? I'm not, no hints, no hints. We're going to go in,
All right, let's get
in
it.
blind here. So whenever you're ready.
I'm ready.
All right, go for it.
Wait.
I have the game. You're going to ask 20 questions, yes or no questions. And
Oh,
I'll
okay.
answer them.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. I get it. I get it.
All
I
right,
get
all
it.
right.
Uh, is it an independent game or major, like a AAA studio?
It is not an indie studio.
Not an indie studio. Is it a shooter?
It is a shooter.
Hmm.
You'd be surprised how many people don't ask about genres.
Really?
Yeah, it's shocking. Or
That's
they'll be
insane.
deep into the questions and be like, "Oh, is it this type of game?" I'm like, "How do you not open with that?"
Yeah. No, you have to. Like, you gotta dwindle it down.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a major, it's a shooter. Uh, is it an arena-based shooter?
Is it an arena-based shooter?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Mm,
It's hard. I say yes. I want to give like details, but I will say yes.
okay. All right. That dwindles it down
I
to
really hope
only like
I
a
didn't get
few
that wrong. I
things.
don't think that I did, but if I do, I will take full blame.
Yeah, an arena base would be like, you know, Call of Duty multiplayer, Overwatch,
Yeah, yeah.
stuff like that. Yeah, yeah.
Right, right.
Where like you have a very small map to play within.
Yeah.
Uh, interesting.
And yes, then I'm more comfortable with the answer.
Okay.
I had to
All
think
right.
about it for a
Sounds good.
second, but yeah,
Yeah. No,
it
you're
is.
good. Um, golly, dude. Questions, questions, questions.
You're only
Um,
3 in, so you got time.
I know, I know. Like I don't know what to ask. Is it hero based?
No.
Interesting. Um, interesting. Wait, so we know it's a major shooter. Is it currently in like are they currently is it currently being played? Like is it I don't maybe it's the wrong question to ask, but like has it been developed within the last few years, I guess is the question.
Yes.
Okay. It's not an older, not hero based.
Well, you asked if it was in development within the last few years. Yes, it is within development within the last few years. It doesn't necessarily mean it was the first time it was developed.
Sure. It's not hero based.
Not
So that
hero
takes
based.
out like Overwatch, that takes out even something like Rogue Company. Um does it have a BR?
No.
Is it like five?
Is it what?
How many questions I've asked? Like five or
You
six?
you are 6 in.
Yet. Because it's not what I find. It's gotta be something that's more abstract. Maybe. Doesn't have a BR. That wipes out a lot of possibilities,
No
but then still
BR.
makes me think, huh.
You are on question 7. Best
Oh
6.
boy.
Plenty time.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Did you ask
I just
ChatGPT?
no. I was thinking to myself like shooters. This is like so like Gears of War would be is it Gears of War?
It is not Gears of War.
Oh, interesting. Oh, I'm trying to think of all the games that it could possibly be and like running out of.
You're in the right.
Oh,
You're in the right.
okay.
You're in the right space,
Uh-huh.
and you eliminate a lot with BRs.
Yeah. Is it Halo?
It is not Halo,
Damn. Okay.
but we have done Halo on this show before.
Okay. It's a shooter, but not a BR, not Halo, not Gears. Can't be COD. Can't be Apex. Can't be Fort. Is it a first person shooter?
Yes.
Fuck. Is it Doom?
It is Doom.
Yeah, okay.
It is Doom.
All right.
See, I was like, man, he plays a lot of shooters. I don't want to grab an obvious one, but I don't want to grab one that's super obscure. But I thought Doom was just like, you know, people know, but they don't really think about it too much.
Sure.
And that's why when you said arena shooter, I was like, I'm pretty sure I've played a multiplayer Doom before.
Sure.
Like, I'm pretty sure there are. I can't remember which version of it, but I'm like,
they had something at some point, whether it was, 100%.
It was a multiplayer. It was kind of like Quake vibes.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there was something like that I remember doing, but it is Doom. So that's
wild.
I think you're now the new record holder. I think the fewest amount was 11 questions.
Is that right? Oh wow.
Yeah.
Hey.
So, yeah. It is Doom. And shooters, like, there's only so many. You know, I mean, there's a lot.
It really is. Yeah.
Well, cool, man. Thanks again for being here. Episode 36 of the Midnight Release podcast. You guys can find me at Ghost Stories Gaming or Ghost Plays Games on all things social, and we will catch you on the next episode. Peace.